Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I would remind those assembled here in the room to turn off your noise-making devices and put them in the most worshipful mode. I'm Reverend John Morehouse. I'm the senior minister here at Mainline Unitarian Church, and I bid you welcome on this occasion as we remember, grieve, and bid farewell to Dr. Vincent Craig. The words of A. Powell Davies come to mind when he wrote almost 60 years ago that our sorrow can come and we should accept it simply, for a bitter heart-rending is part of life. Let our time together be a time for grieving, a time for remembrance, and a tribute to a remarkable young man in many so ways. Let the heart be open to the pain, let it be stretched by it in the desolate hour. Even if there is outcry, even if there is a clenching of the fists upon emptiness, a burning pain and bereavement, a weary ache of loss, we know that anguish, like ecstasy, is not forever. Becomes there also a gentleness, a returning quietness, a restoring stillness. This too is the door to life. Here we come with an opportunity to reflect and to mediate on the importance of loving relationships, where our love and our memories will never cease, and they can lead to dedication, a going forward to the triumph of the soul, the conquering of the wilderness, and in the process, a deepening inward knowledge that in the final reckoning, all will be well. But here, of course, are questions, right? Questions of why, mostly. We come feeling bruised by his death, asking what we might have done to prevent it, asking ourselves those last words that we might have said, that we should have said, that we regret perhaps not saying. His loss touches the despair that courts many of us in our own moments of loneliness and grief, and threatens the structures of meaning that affirm our own lives. No matter how we are stalked by pain, life also has moments of delight and happiness, and here today we will hope that that will be conveyed through the beautiful music that was such a beautiful part of his life. When death cuts across a life too soon, we are left with incompleteness. We know that Vincent's early death leaves much unfinished, unsettled, unsaid. And there are things we wanted to share. There were graduations and memorials and weddings, births, all the moments of life. The sadness that we feel at his loss is full and blooming in a certain way that will guide us into the future. For with his death upon us, we become more of him, more immortal. I share with you these words from William Penn. They that love beyond the world cannot be separated by it. Death cannot kill what never dies. Nor can spirits ever be divided that love and live in the same divine principle, the root and the record of friendship. If absence be not death, neither is theirs. Death is but a crossing the world, as friends do at sea. They live for one another still. This is the comfort of friends, that though they may be said to die, yet their friendship and society are in the best sense immortal, because they are ever present in our hearts. We will sing a hymn this morning, which is number 20 in the hymnal. I think it'll be on the screen. Be Thou My Vision. I invite you to rise in body or spirit.
We
How do we remember a life such as Vincent's? For his life was rich in music, teaching, ministry, companionship, love, and all the relationships that are in this room. I offer a few peeks upon his remarkable life and leave it up to those of us here to share in the lush valleys of your love and knowing. Vincent began his piano studies with Nancy Sarton and played in public for the first time at the Columbia Artist Management Hall in New York City when he was only 8 years old. By 10, he had performed a program for a television station, WNEW New York, and a few years later appeared on USA Television Network. While enrolled at LaGuardia High School of Music and Art in New York, he was a piano student of Josh Gazadi. He won the Scott Joplin Award from the Brooklyn Opera Society and a scholarship from the Brooklyn chapter of the Lynx. He was praised in New York's Amsterdam News for his style and technical assurance and panache. After a performance of the George Walker Piano Sonata No. 1, Vincent graduated from LaGuardia High School in 1986 and then earned a bachelor's degree from Oberlin College in 1990 and then went on to earn his master's and doctoral of music degrees from Peabody Conservatory at Johns Hopkins University. While attending Peabody, he met his wife Candace, and they were married in 2006, and John was born in 2010. Vincent was our music director here for 27 years. In many ways, in many profound ways, he was the longest and most constant ministry in this church. He was our through line. He served as professor of piano and keyboard literature in the Wells School of Music at Westchester University. He also served as head accompanist for the Maryland State Boy Choir for over 30 years. Vincent performed at the Music Teachers National Association Convention, won first prize in the Society of American Museums Young Artist Competition, and was the finalist in the Chopin competition, where he attended also the Aspen Music Festival, and he studied with and accompanied master classes by many internationally famous artists. His repertoire represents over 300 years of piano literature, with special emphasis on works by African American composers. His performances included in New York City at the Lincoln Center Library and Carnegie Hall. Many of you went to see him in Carnegie Hall. The Steinway Hall, Federal Hall in Philadelphia, at the Kemmel Center, Settlement Music School in Washington, D.C., at the State Department, the George Mason Library in Fairfax, Virginia, and the Middle Keys Concert Series in Marathon, Florida. He appeared as a guest soloist at the Delaware County Symphony, the Westchester University Chamber Winds, the Westchester Chamber Orchestra, the Wilmington Community Orchestra, and the Chester County Pops, with whom he has served both soloist and guest conductor. It makes me wonder what I've been doing with my life. Vincent was the director of the Westchester Annual Bach Celebration. Other duties included teaching courses in instrumental method. He served as the musical director for the opera and university theater programs, conducting performances of Grease, Hair Celebration, Gypsy Cole, and an opera by Puccini. Dr. Craig had been the head accompanist of the Maryland Boys Choir for those 20 years. He's also been a visiting artist in Baltimore at its Arts Excel program. Vincent made a CD of Bach released in 2013. Some of you had that, and you were showing that to me the other day. He had an abiding faith in God, and he was a member of the Church of the Good Shepherd. It was his faith and his warmth that made him such a strong presence in our lives here, and I like to think that his faith made our faith stronger. Perhaps foreshadowing. He reflected on his life not long ago in a piece that's in your order of service. What is your legacy? He said, lately I've been giving a lot of thought to what a legacy is and what this word means in music, worship, and life. When we think materialistically, we focus on things like money, wealth, and inheritance, but this is a shallow perspective of legacy. In a religious community, it means so much more. Sometimes I learn a lot of things about members of our community that I did not know previously. And what's interesting is that in every service, the common thread was their family. Different generations reflected on their loved ones and how that person was responsible in some way for them becoming what they are today. In the church, I consider building community an important part of everyone's legacy. When we welcome new members, when we welcome someone who runs for the Board of Trustees, when we take the opportunity to recognize our volunteers, we are building a legacy. Think about what your own legacy might be, he wrote. There are so many careers in which you would leave a legacy to your families, co-workers, and especially students if we're teachers in that capacity. I think of what someone leaves in you as far more important than what they leave to you. Appreciate your legacy, whether it's your vocation or your hobby, and if you can, appreciate being the beneficiary of someone else's legacy. I had only been here a few weeks when he died. I had been looking forward to working with him in ministry, knowing that he carried much of the institutional knowledge of this congregation, and knowing of his tremendous gifts as a musician, as a teacher, as a conductor, a composer, and most of all as a minister to all of you. His death was a shock to us all. And it is our hope today that our grief, and through our grief, we will be able to celebrate his life through words and music. Let us now hear from the choir whom he so loved. Thank you. Vincent would be proud. It is customary in Unitarian Universalist congregations to hear from the people. And so what we will do now is open up both the pulpit and microphones to those who would like to say a few brief, personal, and to the point. No long speeches, no more need for further eulogies. Let's hear from folks. You can either come up to the pulpit, and Caroline she'll have microphones. You can come up the ramp here, or up the stairs, or if you'd like to just speak from where you are, one of the ushers will hand you a microphone.
Hi, I'm Marilyn Marshall. I've been a member of this church most of my adult life. A lot will be said today about Vincent's musical gifts. I want to focus on religion and on Vincent's humanity. The specifics of my beliefs and his differed, and he tended to remind me that he was a Christian. He was that, in the true sense of following the teachings of Jesus, who put relations with others above the Judaic law. Vincent truly loved people and connected with so many in our congregation, listening, finding out what made us tick, and being supportive in times of need. I first learned of this when he was in his first year at MLUC. Paul Oberholzer, a man in his 90s who had been a music teacher early on, was in the choir. I wondered how Vincent, this very young man, would react to someone who had lost many of his early skills and did not handle change well. I knew that because I used to drive him to rehearsals, and he would grumble. It became clear that Vincent valued everybody in the choir. He truly believed in a volunteer choir and welcomed anybody who came, no matter what the talent level. He would give us anecdotes about choir members from earlier church jobs, humorous examples for us, but with kindness. Paul had a major stroke, and I was somewhat startled to find out that Vincent visited him while he was in the hospital, and many times in the nursing home where he died. At that point, I knew that Vincent wasn't just the director of music. He was a minister of music. Two other examples involve my own family. My mother spent many holidays with me and my late partner, David. I told Vincent that she'd been the choir director in the church of my childhood. After that, he would give me Christmas Eve music to take to her at Thanksgiving so she could learn it, with the understanding that she would sing with us Christmas Eve. This lasted throughout her 80s, so I still have a few years to go. About 4 years ago, my Aunt Gail visited Rick and me over Christmas. She had been a music teacher, and in her late 80s still had a really good singing voice. She also sang with us Christmas Eve, and after that, he frequently asked me how she was doing, including the very last conversation I had with him.
I knew Vincent. He was one of my best friends. I think we had a love relationship. That's all I can do, not to cry. Oh, I can't say anything else, but he was wonderful.
Notice how he had to drop the microphone level. Just before that last date that you see up there, Vincent called me. And he said, you know, we're coming up on our 30th anniversary. I thought he was kidding. But I met Vincent in 1996 here. I built that piano for him. He said to me, you know, Ralph, you, and he meant the plural you, because that was his local mom, my wife. He said, you never gave me any bad advice. And I said, Vincent, we didn't have any. We took him out for his graduation dinner when he graduated and got his DMA over at Johns Hopkins, Peabody. Vincent was family. And a lot of times people come up and they write stuff down because they want to say stuff and they don't want to forget stuff. But Vincent and I had a running joke when I would leave his house, his studio, and I did something for him as a gift. He would say, thank you. And I said, oh, just say something nice at my funeral. And he said, I don't even have to write it down. I was with Vincent through thick and thin and through that CD that we did with the Bach. We did it right here on that piano. My wife did give him a good piece of advice when we found a job opening coming up at Westchester, and she said, and you'll forgive my French, Vincent, take the damn job. And he did. And he went from piano teacher to associate professor to the head of the vocal and piano department. That's a success story. That's a golden boy. He got lucky only once or twice when he met Candace, and then there was John, who I want my hug, John, before you owe me. There's a million things I could say. I could be up here all day. I'm known for not being short on words. We were at one of his concerto concerts at Newman, I believe it was, Newman College, where he played the Grieg concerto and the orchestra played whatever they could. I'm not sure how Vincent got through it. I spoke to the conductor afterwards. She did have a potty mouth. He just plowed through and did his job, and that's the best thing I can say about Vincent. He just did his job. He never had a bad word about anyone in the 27 years that I know him. And when I first got here, he said, you know, I called you on your reputation. You were the cheapest. We fought music committees here. We got that piano built. He was a treasure. And I'll just say two more things and get off before Reverend Morehouse throws me off. And I'm losing it. I'm so sorry. I'm a humanist, which means I believe in everything and nothing. Humanists tend to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. If I were going to belong to a church, this would probably be it. And I'm going to leave you with this. I'm sorry. Vincent, on the chance that you can hear me, if love could bring you back, you would be directing that choir. Thank you. This is a piano tuning related injury, by the way.
There's an old joke about how do you get to Carnegie Hall? And the answer is practice, practice, practice. Well, on June 15th, 2017, Vincent got to Carnegie Hall. he performed a recital, wonderful recital. And after it was over, we chatted, all of us who were there, we chatted with Vincent one time or another. And he said, you know, when I was a youngster and I would be walking over to Steinway Hall, which is where he took lessons, he said he'd look across the street at Carnegie Hall and he said, you know, someday I'm going to play there. And sure enough, 2017, he did play there. And I think it's wonderful that he was able to have that dream and it came true. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Igor Resnyansky. I am one of the faculty at Westchester University. I wasn't prepared to speak today. I didn't know exactly how the memorial will go, but just I want to say a few words, unprepared. I know Vincent since for 18 years already. I came to Westchester University as an adjunct faculty in 2005. And I do remember, I unfortunately couldn't go to his Carnegie Hall recital. I was teaching at another festival. I was away, but I still have the poster in my studio. And it's still hanging there. And by the way, he's also released a second CD of music of black composers, which I dearly love. And I have it in my car, listened many times. I asked Vincent, I think the playing is superb. Just so natural and just heartfelt. And I said, Vincent, just get the Grammy or get the Grammy, or because he was always shy. I said, like, just send it. He said, oh, that's a good idea. It's a good idea. It's like so. But if I want to say a few words about him, you can be here for days to talk about Vincent. So it was a shock for all of us. We still cannot believe it, and it's still his voice is with us. His presence is with us. It's just hard to take it out of the building. Students made a memorial on his door. We wrote some notes, and I still converse with him because I talked to him on Wednesday. We had a nice an-hour talk. Like I happens to have a lunch break, and Vincent had a little break as well. And we chit-chatted. He was so excited about it was his second semester being the chair of vocal and keyboard department. He was looking forward to so many plans, and he had a recital, performance with the concert, with orchestra coming. So for me, it's almost like it's a parallel reality that he is not here. That's impossible. So I guess it will take a while for that to sink in for everybody. I'm sure he was dearly loved in this community. But I just want to let you know that he was the most selfless, ready to help without being asked person. He was always looking after all the faculty, and I always told him, Vincent, of all of us, you're the most balanced person, because we all have our strange qualities. And he was the most balanced, and it's that inner peace that he always had, which was, later I got to appreciate more and more, because no matter what happens, he was always at balance, while we would be trying to react and trying to solve things, and we react emotionally, and he was always knew that things will fall in place the way they should. And so besides that, I called him encyclopedia, because he just knew everything. And he could have talked from topic to topic, and just. And we would be in our meetings or in our juries, and he would mention facts that you just think. Carl Kramer was always said, "Of course, Vincent, you were the one who will remember that." It's amazing. It's just simply amazing. So it is tragic, and it is in all regards for all of us and his family, and I got to know his family. John and Vincent came to listen my run-through of Tchaikovsky seasons. Vincent was at my recital. I was at Vincent's recitals, most of them. So it is it is just impossible. But at the same time, reflecting on Vincent, somehow I have that sense of balance in this strange way, like he projected. There is something, things will be okay. So if he's looking at us from above, he's probably smiling. So just say, guys, it will be okay. So I hope when it's my time, he will be the chair of.
You hear me? Oh, there it goes. Thank you. Okay. I'm Paul Liebman. I've been a member of this church perhaps longer than anybody in this room. Hard to believe. There are some oldies. And I have the distinction of having won the auction at a dinner like 30 years ago. Maybe 40 years ago, just after the church was recovering from having burned to the ground. And the Steinway had been moved out to Ron Hockenberry's apartment in Radnor. And in fact, he had 2 Steinways there. And the auction that I succeeded in acquiring was a duo piano recital that I invited perhaps a couple of people in this room, and several of my neighbors too. Very exciting era, beginning perhaps before Ron, certainly through Ron's aegis, and so exciting to have been carried forward by Vincent into a new dimension. And I have to say that I'm especially sensitive to this transition because I was born to a fairly musical family, both piano and string instrument, and I was in competition, not at the level of Vincent, but as kids tend to do when their companions are engaged in about the same level of performance and performance anxiety, I guess, as we were. And a guy by the name of Chuck Winterling and his mother was the choir director at the church, and we would compete for the same kind of cutting edge, too difficult for our capability musical pieces with the same instructor. And oddly enough, Chuck went to Oberlin, and I visited him at Oberlin, 30-some years before Vincent was there. And I can tell you that is one fine music school. And not only that, they play a pretty good game of tennis out there. And the musicians all played with gloves on their hands. At any rate, coming back to local environment, I met Vincent very early in his career here. And unfortunately, I was doing so many things, I never got involved with the choir, even though I had sung double barbershop quartet through high school and college and choral stuff. But I knew him and I talked with him not infrequently and knew how rich his engagement was on so many different levels. As it turns out, I went to Hopkins as a medical student and tried to keep up my music career with piano at the same institution that Vincent graduated from. And he tried to see if he could remember me, but it was like 36 years earlier. And we didn't succeed in connecting that way, but we certainly knew each other from the quality of the Peabody Institute in Baltimore. And of course, when I finished my medical career and went on, I did come back to music, and we had the folk group here in the church, and I got into classical guitar for a while, and then finally into bluegrass that some of us have been known to frequent. And so I was excited about my experience with Vincent further at the at Westchester U, because he generously invited those of us who had an interest to his recitals every year. And what a pleasure those recitals were. The precision, the ability to bring out the main themes of music as a true professional would. And I'm sorry I missed his recital in New York, but just so taken with his musical discretion and technique as well. And then finally, hard to recall this moment, but 1 month and 3 days ago, Vincent and I sat in this chancel right about there where Mary is, and celebrated my donation to the music future of this church. And he was all smiles and dressed in his necktie and his vest, and just so bright and cheerful and strong. I mean, what a man. And within 4 days, it was no more. But my money's there, and I encourage you to put yours there as well. We miss you, Vincent.
Hello, my name is Pat Jordan, and I am one of the people who have been lucky enough to have had Vincent contact me sometimes and said, let's perform together for the church services. So we eventually, over the years, had a routine. I'd think about the theme, and then I'd write down like 4 or 5 songs that I thought would be fun to do. It was always such an honor and delight to be with him. He was so funny and so interesting. But so I handed him the list, and I said, what ones do you think would be good? He looked and he read about the 5 of them, and then he said, you can do any one, Pat, but you can't do Summertime. And I said, why? He said, because in my opinion, that belongs to Candace. I never forgot that. It was just so charming. And that's what I have to say, one of my strong memories of him.
Good morning. I am Stephen Holmes, and I'm the director of the Maryland State Boy Choir. And it's great to be here to pay tribute to Vincent and to honor him today. I met Vincent when I was 11 years old. I was a chorister singing in the choir, and I'll never forget that first summer camp. He was new, and I was only a few years in, and he was probably in his first or second year at Peabody working on his master's degree, and he was ever so gracious and kind to me, a very eager musician, but of course very green at the age of 11, mostly self-taught in piano. And I remember asking him if he would play some Mozart 4-hand piano duets with me, and he so kindly did. And I certainly didn't deserve that honor at that time, but he was gracious and kind. Little did I know that we would go on for him to be a teacher and a mentor, and then a lifelong friend. And what a joy to be friends with Vincent. We traveled a ton together as a part of the boy choir. I'll rattle off just a few of the places we went together, and he could tell you more about all those countries than most of the local natives could. In fact, on our last tour this summer to Colorado and New Mexico, he regaled us on the bus with a full story of Kentucky Fried Chicken and Colonel Sanders. How he knew all that, I have no idea. But Vincent knew a lot about everything. But together we traveled throughout the United States, Canada, Bermuda, England, Ireland, Wales, the Netherlands, France, Belgium, Italy, Slovakia, Germany, Austria, Denmark, Iceland, and the Faroe Islands. He would always be frustrated with me when we would go to cold places like Iceland, because he's always cold and I was always warm. In fact, I have some funny memories of sharing hotel rooms with Vincent. We did it for a number of years and then realized we would be better friends if we didn't share a hotel room. And it wasn't because we didn't get along, but he would want the thermostat at about 83 and I would want it at about 66. And we would each wake up about every hour in the night and switch it up and on and off. So we never roomed together again, but maintained a close friendship. Vincent was a health nut, although you could occasionally get him to indulge in a sweet treat. Vincent liked to talk about his food and kind of verbally process it. He loved to cook soups and cook meats and loved cooking for his family, and that was just a real joy for him. But one time we were on a tour, and when you're on a tour, you never know where you're going to eat your next meal. And sometimes it's wonderful and healthy, sometimes it's a potluck. Vincent always loved the potlucks, but we went to a place that would be more of a fries and burger kind of place. Vincent looked up on his phone the closest place where he could get a healthy salad, proceeded to walk there, and then was frustrated when the bus left him because he wasn't back in time to get back on the bus. Vincent and I would commonly talk a lot about music, and he would ask me, particularly for the Mainline Unitarian Church Choir, for the Music Sunday, I think it was called, and he always put so much thought into it. And he would ask me, well, what works could I do, and what would be a good option for the choir, and here's how they are right now. And he just put so much thought into the work with the choir. Was always thinking, a year ahead, 2 years ahead. But he was so proud of the choir as of late, especially. He said to me this summer, Stephen, this is the finest choir I've ever had in my years at Mainline Unitarian Church. And he said, I think the average age is more like 78 instead of 89. He was so proud of you all. He really was. He was just so delighted. And he was just really excited. The other thing he would say to me about being here at Mainline Unitarian is he said, I know where the bodies are buried, and I've outlasted all of them. So, referring to the staff, that is. So, it was always fun to hear his stories. He just loved this church. He was a avowed Anglican Episcopalian for much of his later years in life, but he just loved the community and the faith community here. I'll share a few quick last things. Vincent was famous and sometimes infamous that he didn't have an off button, right? It was either talking or sleeping. And so my wife, over the years, collected a collection of pictures of Vincent and I in meaningful conversation, and then pictures of us on the motor coach, Vincent and I in conversation, me asleep, him still talking. So those are really, we have a fun little collage of those. I'll just close by saying that Vincent's love for his family and friends, for John and Candace, his mom and dad, is just profound. He was so proud and pleased with them. And John, you were the apple of his eye. He was so delighted in all that you brought to life. And so he just was a real joy. And I think, as was said, he always had a kind word, always had a word of encouragement. You could disagree with him and still walk away and not feel like you had burned a bridge. He just was gracious and kind. And one of the songs we've sung through the years, the words end with, it's from Scripture, well done, thou good and faithful servant. So we say that to Vincent, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thank you.
My name is Liz Blygan. I'm a member of the choir, obviously, because here I sit. And I have I have many memories of Vincent, but two very distinct ones that I will treasure forever. One is one Sunday, we were chatting before the service, and I had one of my many and never-ending hot flashes. And he knew I was having it, and we talked a little bit about that. And Vincent, being the calm person that Igor talked about, was trying to just breathe. And I'm sitting there laughing at myself because I'm thinking, you really don't know how these things work, do you? There is no breathing your way out of a hot flash. You just get through it. My second is the most recent Music Sunday, which I was unable to be a part of due to a serious health crisis with my husband, and so I had to back out and not commit to anything really other than work and my husband. But I came to the performance. And I was blown away because we did Vox Magnificat. That is a really, really, really hard piece. And this choir was brilliant. And John was brilliant. And Vincent was glowing, not just beaming, he was glowing with joy and pride for his choir and for his son. And I will never forget the look on his face that day. It brought me such joy. And Vincent has brought me such joy throughout the very few years, really 6 or 7, that I've been singing with him, that I will cherish him for the rest of my life.
Hello? And my brother and I grew up in the church. Our parents were Bob and Marion Murphy, for those who know. And I didn't know Vincent very well. I learned of him through our mother, and she was just ecstatic when he joined the church or became the music director. And I learned of him through her. And he was always kind whenever I visited church on holidays coming through. We were formal with each other, but he was just very welcoming. And the two images I have most of him are when we were going through hospice with our father. He came out to the house a couple times and sat with my mother and would have lunch. And then he helped us with our mother's service. He suggested a composer, Florence Price, that neither of us knew of. So it was just this forever teaching. And as it turned out, Florence Price, she was from our mother's hometown. And that added a very special note, for our service. And it was just forever teaching, even in that moment, and I thought that was very special, so thank you.
Hi, I came not planning to speak today, but I want to just say something quickly. I'm Lori Rogers. I'm a 22-year member of this church. I met Vincent basically right after I joined, and as soon as he found a sort of a fellow colleague, fellow musician, we would sit and talk shop after church for a long, long, long time. And then he realized I played the piano, and he talked to me even more about all the times I could come sub for him, Stephen, while he was on tour with the boy choir, particularly. I just want to say right now I'm teaching at the Peabody Institute at his alma mater. I'm the music director of the opera program there. And the number of people that have come to me at Peabody with memories, and Candace, people send their love. Eileen Cornett and Joanne Kuleza send their love. And one of my first-year master's students is Joris Valkenburg, who came up through the Maryland Boy Choir and came into my office as soon as the news broke and we were back at school. And he said, "Do you think it's okay if I miss school to come up to Vincent's memorial in Pennsylvania?" I said, "Absolutely." But I just share in everybody's grieving, and I've enjoyed making music here with him, and I hope we can continue to do that in his honor. Thank you.
My name is John Smith. Amidst all the grief that we are sharing today, I find my thoughts turning to all of us who are sitting here in this room this morning. We are witnesses. We have been witnesses. And there's a wonderful concept called bearing witness. It means that you're more than just an observer. You have an obligation. And the obligation we have, I think, is to carry forward the joy that we knew from Vincent and to evidence it in our lives.
Hello. Stephen Herrick, longtime resident of the Main Line and this fellowship here at MLU. Knew Vince pretty well. Less is more, as they say. maybe to keep him in his, fighting back the tears here, maybe keeping him in our hearts would be best if we thought Vince was always one of us and one with us and part of our heritage as musicians. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Wendy Schmidt. I've been in the choir since it started back with Dorleen Davis, so I've known Vincent a long time. And I just wanted to have two quick stories about his humanity. One was when my younger son was in the hospital, and it was extremely difficult. And I think Vincent probably was the only one that I shared anything with here because he knew him. And he took the time to go to that hospital and spend time with my son. He wasn't a minister here, and Jonathan wasn't in the choir, but he took the time to be with him, and that always stayed in my heart. The other quick story I wanted to say is that I've shared with him, we always ask about our cello playing, because my husband and I both play cello, and how's it going with Lansdowne, et cetera. And he asked us to play a trio, a cello trio with him. He plays cello also. And afterwards he said to me, I said, it was so sweet of you to ask us to play. And he said, well, Wendy, I know that arthritis isn't going to get any better, and I wanted you to have a chance for us to play together. And I just thought that was the most kind and wonderful thing. And when we finished the Bach, I said to him from Music Sunday, I said, oh, shoot, I never really thought we would get through this. And he said, I never had a doubt.
Sorry. I first want to just say thank you to MLUC, all the people at the university, and everyone who's been praying for us, been thinking of us, holding us in your thoughts and prayers, and all the wonderful cards and gifts that you've given. It's been beautiful, and it's been truly holding us up. A lot of you have heard that Vincent was a Christian, and so are we, and so I believe that it's honestly been the prayers and God's grace that's truly been keeping us during this very difficult time. I'll just say a couple of things, and then I want to, oh, I left my phone down there, but do one quick little thing. But though I wanted to just share a little bit about knowing Vincent. He was very loving, caring, giving, like everyone's been saying. He's very funny. But one thing I wanted to share is how when I was in high school, I used to have this long bus ride because I lived out in a rural part of Mississippi, and so our bus ride was an hour in the morning and an hour on the way back. And when I was in high school, after my brother, I had an older brother, once he graduated, I would be on the bus by myself, and I would always fall asleep. And I would hear classical piano music in my sleep while I was on that bus. It would be so, it was real. It was like I could hear the music, and I would startle, and I would wake up, and I would think, where's that coming from? And then, of course, I'd realize, I'm on the bus. Like, what? But it would happen over and over again. And I kind of have forgotten about that, but of course, recently I remembered it. Those are some little nudges that God had given me, I believe, of my future. And I mentioned it to my aunt, and she said that was probably a little prophecy that God was giving you. And it would happen to quite a few times, even after I graduated from high school. I would hear that piano music, and again, like I said, it was just that little nudge, God giving me a little, just something to let me know what my future would be with Vincent, because I did not know classical piano music growing up. I didn't listen to it. I didn't hear it. I was a musician, and I played the clarinet, and I was in band, but I did not know classical piano music. But I would hear it in my sleep, and so, again, that was the Lord giving me that. One other thing, after we were married, another thing in high school, I always wanted to play the cello. I love the cello. I just loved it. And I loved piano, too. And I always wanted to take lessons, but I didn't get a chance to because my mom was working and she couldn't get me to the lessons. But after Vincent and I were married, this is probably, I don't know, maybe a year, 6 months to a year into our marriage, there was this big case sitting in the living room or in the piano room, and I didn't know what it was. And so one day I was like, what is that thing over there? He goes, what? I said, what is in that thing over there? My cello? I'm like, cello? You have a cello? Yeah, I play the cello. I had no idea until after we were married that he even played the cello. So again, that was, I feel like that was God giving me that little, see, I got you. You got the right one. So again, I didn't even know he played the cello till after we were married. He, used to play in middle school. And I just thought, oh, thank you, God. That was another little blessing there. But I wanted to share one quick little thing for all of you. Did I leave my phone? John, could you bring my phone up for me? I just wanted to share some words. This is a hymn that I love and that Vincent loved. And we used to sing it together sometimes. And I thought I would try to share a verse of it with you. Some of you probably heard it before. It's called It Is Well With My Soul. And I would like for you to take these words and really take them into your heart. Because, it was a gift for all of us to have Vincent. And it's not good to be without him, but it was a gift. And it will be well with your soul. He left so much for this community. He loved everyone. And so I just want to try this to offer this to you. When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, God be with you.
Thank you, Candace. We will continue on with our program, hearing from David Brown, who has just recently been brought on as the interim choir director, and his mother, Jody, who is our accompanist.
it somehow seems appropriate for Vincent's memorial that I have to follow great music, as would consistently be the case during our services with Vincent. Jeez. I invite you, as you are comfortable, to join me now in the spirit of prayer. Spirit of life and love, God of many names, we come together today with hearts that are breaking. In so many ways, the loss of Vincent still feels impossible. Many of us have questions that echo and reverberate. Why and how? Those are questions of bereavement, for all are gathered here in person or from a distance are bereft. Those are also the questions of life. Why and how? We do not have every answer today, and though we are seekers of answers, we probably never will. There is much that is mysterious and kept veiled from us. We can take comfort in the knowledge of Vincent's faith and in the words that meant so much to him. Do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I am going there to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am. Spirit of love, we are grateful even as we grieve. Grateful that we were blessed with Vincent's music, friendship, ministry, leadership, and teaching. We take comfort in knowing that our grief is shared, that the communities Vincent helped to build and weave together with his music are strong and vibrant, that his legacy lives on in his family and in the lives he shaped. Help us to carry forward the legacy that Vincent left in each of us, and that we may do so in love, because it is well. May it be so, and amen.
In the bud there is a flower, in the seed and
So our time here is done. We let go of Vincent's hand, but not his hold on our lives. For he will continue to live within us. This truest stretch of our mortality is that spirit that carries on through each of us in the lessons learned, in the magic moments that are yet to come, and in the remembering of this remarkable man and his remarkable life. I want to close with these words from Hugh Orr. They are not gone who pass beyond the clasp of hand, out from the strong embrace. They are but some who are still close. We need not grope with hands, nor look to see, nor try to catch the sound of feet. They have put off their shoes and walk softly by day. Within our thoughts to tread at night, our dreams led paths of sleep, they are there. They are not lost who find at sunset gate the goal of their faithful years, not lost as they who reach the summit of their climb, the peak above the clouds and the storms. They are not lost who find the light of sun and stars and God. They are not dead who live in the hearts they leave behind. In those whom they have blessed, they leave life again, and we live on. And we shall strive through our years to live on in that same love, with that same spirit. Please remain seated for the postlude, and after the postlude, please join us for a reception across the atrium in the fireside room.